G'day there. The second and final brief for the Blue Mountains crossing. Thanks for once again participating and being involved in this event. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to basically talk about three things is really to clear up any questions that have been coming from the previous video and sets of paperwork, to cover off some new material that I've sent you in this particular email, and then lastly to just talk about how we're going to make sure that it all goes very smoothly, just some considerations towards the end. So first of all, I've sent you a new altitude graph. It's got all of the same information. There was just a few questions about what point was relating to what altitude, so I've rotated the names of the points vertically, so there's absolutely no doubt about the height versus the position that you can reference to. So your choice if you want to print that off or just continue to use the old one. As far as the communications are concerned, we're a Unicom, we're not a controlling agency, so we won't be using the term cleared to, we'll be using the terms track to the North Hold, track to the South Hold. Track for Penrith, when we say track for Penrith, that is basically your clearance, so to speak, for you to commence the route at that time. And it's just really important that when you go overhead Penrith, that you report Alpha Bravo Charlie, overhead Penrith. And at that point, switch to 12455, the area frequency for maintaining a listening watch. As far as the entry points are concerned, we will just re-highlighting that we are telling you which entry point to use, what time to get there, and what altitude to get there at. And that information will come from the timing sheet, which I'll talk about in a moment. The roulettes are flying before and after all of the civil participants. So just remember, don't plan to come down the route early because there will be a restricted airspace there when the roulettes are flying. And similarly, after everybody gets through to Bathurst, the roulettes are doing another display, so the restricted areas will be active again. Following what I've talked about will keep you clear of the restricted areas. Read the NOTAM still, be aware of where they are, but just don't fly along the route unless you're actually in the event itself, and you'll be fine. We've had the route flown by a few people now in various aircraft. There's basically 4 points just to highlight about the route. First of all, be organised in your own cockpit about the altitude you need to be at for any particular position. Keep your eyes out of the cockpit, so don't fly along looking at the navigation information and the altitudes. Make sure that you're keeping them out because there will be other aircraft around out there. Between the points of Woodford and Hazelbrook, it's almost a continuous climb for most aircraft, so just be ready for that to occur. And between Mount Blaxland and O'Connell, those points, there's a hill that if you're on the red route, you'll pass it over by about 500 feet AGL, which is fine. But we just wanted to highlight that we're not providing the terrain clearance. You're still responsible for flying the aircraft. And if you think you're going to be a little bit too close to that hill for your own comfort, don't climb to go over it. Go around it so that you don't climb into someone else that's still above you there. Okay, into the new stuff. I've sent through a contact sheet. It's just basically got the 3 phone numbers on it. If you're being allocated the north hold point, the north entry point, there's a phone number. If you've been allocated the southern entry point, there's a different number. And if you can't get through on either of those 2 phones, try the general inquiries number. I've included the timing sheet with plan A, B and C on it. So all you have to do there is go through each plan A, B and C, and find your name and call sign, or if you're part of a large formation, find the lead's name and call sign and the formation allocation, and just note down your entry point, either north or south. It's the same for everybody, like every person has a north entry point through the whole thing, or a south entry point, okay? So you're either a north guy or a south guy. Find out your entry time and altitude per plan, and what colour level you are flying in the plan. So then when I text you on the appropriate phone on Saturday morning and say plan B is in effect, you should then know which point you're coming through, at what time, at what altitude, and what your expected level colour is going to be for that plan. Lastly, the weather. At the moment it's looking pretty average, unfortunately. We're going to continue with the plan until the morning of the event, at which point, I'll allocate either plan A, B, or C, or plan D is cancel, and I'll just say the event is cancelled. Now, if I do cancel it, the weather may still be very flyable, but I have to cancel it because it's an air display, and there's some pretty stringent requirements for what is acceptable and what is not for an air display. If I cancel it, and you think the weather is still good enough to fly, which is fine, and you still want to go to Bathurst and have a barbecue there, which is fine, you can still do that, okay? And you can still fly the route. And in fact, we would encourage you, and CASA encourages you, to fly the plan, because that is the safest plan we've come up with. So if I'm cancelling it, just assume it's the plan C is going to be the most effective one to fly. And if you still want to fly to Bathurst, fly the plan, fly your nominated timings still, because that means you'll still be clear, and that way you can go and have a look and see if you can use your own airmanship to get through to Bathurst if you so desire. Okay, so it's not all lost if I cancel it. It's just not a formal air display anymore. You won't talk to us on the radio because we won't be there anymore. You'll just fly to Bathurst for a barbecue, but just follow the route and the altitude and the timings that we've nominated. Lastly, some motherhood. Now, just highlighting, you are the captain of your own aircraft, so you are responsible for the safe and efficient conduct of your flight. If you don't like what's going on, you're responsible for going, let's just stop what we're doing and follow the abort requirements that were in the first brief. Now, also, we are not relying on anyone's participation. Okay, so don't feel like you have to turn up. If there's weather in your way, if there's a mechanical issue, or you don't feel very well, okay, just don't come. Okay, it's as simple as that. If there is any doubt, pull out. Okay, it's as simple as that. We don't want anyone to feel that they had to turn up because they said they were going to. Now, lastly, because it's an air display, normally when there's an air display, there's a signature sheet of people who have been to the brief and they sign it. The way we're doing that, as you've seen from the waiver, is you need to send us something to say you've seen this final brief and you understand what's going on. All we need you to do is to text message either the north or the south phone number. So if you've been allocated the north entry point, send something to the north phone number. If you've been allocated the south entry point, send something to the south phone number. And what we want you to send is just your call sign. Okay, so I should get the same number of call signs, add up to my run sheet. I'm just going to allocate it. Yep, received. And in the end, I'll know that everybody has seen this brief. CAS is happy that everybody has been briefed and acknowledged it, and we can go ahead with it. And that way I also get everyone's phone number without me having to type it in. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much for putting up with all these briefs. I think it's a new thing we're doing here. It's a very new thing to use video briefs for an air display. It seems to have going very well. CASA seem to be pretty happy with it. The insurance companies are happy with how it's all gone. So regardless of what occurs on the weekend with the weather, I think we've all been part of something to build it up. So well done to everybody for doing all of the right things up until this point. And hopefully the weather plays well enough for us to get this thing across safely and efficiently, and we all have a nice barbecue out at Bathurst at the end of the day. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I'll still be cleaning up down in Glenbrook, but should be a great day. Thank you very much. See you later.